All right, what's going on, family? It's your boy Dame checking in from the couch. And today, like any other day, we bring it to you, talking mental health. We're talking everything up under the sun from A to Z regarding mental health to reduce the stigma associated with it. So can we talk for a bit? We're definitely going to do that today. I'm excited, overjoyed, honored. Please, all those positive words, because I got couch family in the building, real family. This is like my true first cousin. This is like my brother in the building, you know, singer, actor, overall entertainer. My boy Trav Wright is in the building. What's going on, family?
What's up? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's going on, man? Glad
All is well.
rocking with you on the couch, man. I peep your show every now and then, you know.
Yeah.
Peep the topics, man. I'm proud of you, man. You're really doing your thing out there, man.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna keep it pumping. And like this season, this is season 6. We've been doing this thing for 6 strong seasons.
Crazy.
You know, putting out a variety of topics, all the way from sex to addiction to relationships to trauma and all those things in between.
Wow.
So this episode will be unlike no other. You know, we definitely never had this type of episode to where we're diving in. We're almost be like we're gonna be a couch unsung almost over here. You know what I mean? Like we're going from the beginning all the way up to current and future. So we're talking about everything. Talking everything Trav Wright and everything.
Try and give you as much information as possible, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I know being your family, you got the stories for days,
man.
You know, all of that. So we definitely gonna touch on some of those things and trials, tribulations, the impact.
Yes.
You know, overall from a mental standpoint, from a family standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, we're gonna touch all of those things because that's what we do here on the couch.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So before we really get into the meat of things, I definitely want to again introduce my guest, you know, for this episode, for this conversation, my boy Trav Wright again, you know, based out of Atlanta, from Orangeburg, South Carolina. That's hometown. You know, I always rep Orangeburg to the fullest. Every episode, I'm always throwing Orangeburg in there somewhere. You know,
got to.
Yeah, man. We got some diamonds, some jewels that came out of Orangeburg, South Carolina, that's doing major things out here in the community, in the world overall. You know, from politics to music to business owners to everything. So we definitely putting out some great product, and we're gonna continue to do that. So we definitely want to raise awareness, and huge shout out to Orangeburg, South Carolina. Without Orangeburg, this would not be possible right now. Absolutely. So give the family a little bit, give our couch family just a little bit of background on Trav Wright. You know what I'm saying? What you do, what's going on? Just give us a little bit of background. I'll let you have the floor.
Trav Wright is basically a singer, man, songwriter, actor, you know, just overall entertainer. You know, I've been doing my thing now for, I would say, probably about 27 years.
Wow.
And 27 years. And I would say roughly 25 years ago, I made my very first television debut. 25 years ago. So the group was rocking 2 years before that.
And before we talk about that monumental moment, we're going to give a little bit of background. You know, we're going to take this thing in stages. We're going to talk about the early times of Trav Wright and the group, what he's talking about. Again, if you're not from Orangeburg, and you've been under a rock and never heard of this group, shame on you. We're gonna make sure that you get the YouTube links, all this information. By the end of the show, you're gonna know what group we're talking about. So we definitely gonna dive into that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about prior to the group. You know, early years, growing up in South Carolina, family background, all those things. Give a little bit of insight about the earlier Trav.
Well, for starts, man, I of course came from one amazing and incredible family background. You know, I had one of the best childhoods any child could have. You know what I mean? It was complete. You know, pops was in the home. You know,
Hmm.
all my life. You
Yeah,
know, I had a father, I had a mother, a praying mother. You
absolutely.
know, older brother to watch out for me, and a baby sister to kind of watch out for. You know,
Right, right, right,
so
right.
so so you know, I feel that I came from a really complete balance, man, and
Hmm.
um, and for me, it was all about sports slash music, you know, slash church.
Right, right.
That's the life.
So,
That's the life I know.
so just to add on to that, I'm glad that you mentioned that. What were some of like your earlier influence? You said that, you know, you were definitely into sports, and also music. So from a musical standpoint and from an athletic standpoint, who were
Mhm.
some of your influences that got you to that point to where you say, okay, I'm really interested in these particular things?
Well, for me, watching football, obviously, I was a big fan of Barry Sanders. I was a big fan of Walter Payton. You know, those guys like that. So of course, I wanted to be a running back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was my, and as you know, back in the day, our backyard was the football field for
Absolutely.
Bonneville.
Absolutely.
My
Shout out to Bonneville, definitely.
shout out to Bville, everybody from the Bville. Man, y'all know it's too many of y'all to name, but
Right.
ups to y'all. And
Absolutely.
our yard was the football yard. So yeah,
So you did the football thing, you know, play high school ball,
yeah. Hmm.
and tell us a little bit about that transition to this group, to this musical prodigy, I'm gonna say,
Hmm.
because you know we come from a musical background, and I
Yeah,
always said I was the one that it skipped over. You had it, your sister have it, you know, your
man.
older brother can carry a tune.
Yeah.
My younger sister can carry tunes. I'm like, cousins carry tunes, and I'm like, what happened to me?
Hey man,
Like,
we in every family you need a complete balance, man. You need those folks that can entertain the people. You
right,
need the folks that can count the money, and you need the folks that can keep everybody halfway sane. And
so 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 that's my part. I'm keeping everybody halfway sane a
sanity.
little bit.
Yeah, man. And so I was dancing and singing and jumping around, man, musically just as much as I played football. I really
Hmm.
coming up, I really don't know like which one I did more
Right.
of, and it was like really half and half. And
Hmm.
so moving into high school, I remember being in the sports program at South Carolina State University. And at the sports program, I remember winning this award, and this award was for most improved. I did that program, that sports program, the year before that, and I was kind of like just all over the place, man.
Hmm.
And there was a coach that coached on OW's football team. The very next year at the sports program, he noticed the maturity in me, and I led my team to a couple awards, at the end of the sports program. Not
Hmm.
only that, but they also do a talent show in that talent show, we basically kind of mimic New Edition's "If It Isn't Love."
Yeah.
We actually, it was four guys. We actually had a girl in the group at the time, a little dance group, and
Hmm.
we won the little talent show. And that dance thing and feeling that was the first time I actually had the chance to do something about this music thing that was kind of in me, and I was kind of pushing for, and not really, I
Right.
wouldn't say pushing for, but that thing that was in me, but I never had the chance to really experience that,
Right.
being on stage, officially, for me, I would stand in the back of the choir, so a lot of my family members never really knew I could sing, man, like sang. I would sit around and listen to them sing.
Mm.
So in those earlier days, obviously the family was a very big, a really big music influence on me,
Right.
vocally and what have you. I would sit around and listen to my cousins and my aunts and my uncles sing, and they were my influences. So I was absorbing all of that and really didn't realize how much I was absorbing it, but I was
Right.
absorbing a lot of that back in the day, and it just carried over into this dance group. And I remember um, being excused from football practice at times, or being excused to be a little late for football practice because I was on the concert choir at school. And so these guys that I was dancing with, sometimes we would harmonize in the hallways. And I was doing like the half and half thing. And by then we were also doing talent shows as a dance group. And so that was my transition. The beginning of my transition from football to music.
So as we kind of press forward a little bit in your singing career, and you're kind of, I guess, shifting away from football and more focused on the singing aspect,
Mm-hmm.
something happened, and something was transformed, something was developed. This explosion happened for you, and several other people, and kind of give the family a little bit of history on that and that group and all of those things.
Well, that dance group I was in was a dance group of a lot of my friends that were my age, basically. As we prepared to graduate from high school, I promise you, I can't think of one of them. It's probably only one of them. No, not even him. They all literally went off to the military,
Wow.
different parts of the military, including my best friend Brad Shivers. And that group was initially formed by Brad Shivers and I, my best friend from middle school, high school, back in the day. You remember we used to dance on the porch
Yeah, at
at,
his house.
at the
Yeah.
Shivers house? Yeah. So those
Yeah.
that was like my family, man. Well, when those guys started moving off to the military, we'd already brought in a guy named Curtis Boyd, aka King Malachi, and
Shout out.
Mimi into the group, and they were dancing with us on in shows and on stage. But behind the scenes, these guys were very, very gifted and talented with playing horns and knowing how to harmonize and stuff like that. And for me, I didn't know any of that stuff. I never played an instrument. I didn't know how to harmonize and stuff like that. I could sing lead pretty well because I came from a Pentecostal background, and yeah, I ain't gotta tell you, I got all kind of lead singers in my family.
Absolutely.
Ain't gonna
Absolutely.
step out
Nothing but blowers.
at any time, just amazing and incredible singers. And so I
Right.
learned from them, obviously. And so I was pretty good singing lead, but when it came to harmony and basic music knowledge, I didn't have much of that. And so Mimi and Curtis and those guys, they possessed that. And so as those other guys went off to the military, we started kind of forming more into a singing group.
Mm-hmm.
We would go run around campus to OW, Claflin, South Carolina State, and we would do the talent shows and then have you as a group. Well, it wasn't long after my guys went off to the military that, of course, Boys the Men and Jodeci and groups like that started coming around. Mainly Boys the Men. Obviously, Take Six was already around, and
Right.
so we would try and mimic anything Boys to Men put out. We had some young ladies that were
Mm-hmm.
older than us, and they were a phenomenal singing group. I can't remember the name of their group, but they were a gospel singing group. They
Mm-hmm.
would do some of their gospel songs and what have you, and
Right.
that's really the beginning of um, of the group that would formulate into Finesse. And so after
Mm.
those guys went off to the military, and the three of us, were kind of focusing on, our thing. Obviously, we wanted to upgrade to a quartet group,
Mm-hmm.
um, and um, and we found well, Mimi and Malachi basically brought in Brian Dantzler, aka Pawpaw, and so
Yeah.
we officially became a quartet at that point. And so Malachi, like he played saxophone, Mimi played trumpet, and Brian he played trombone. So these guys were loaded with musical talent. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of that the foundation of harmonies and basic stuff like that, they taught me.
So at this point, you guys have formed this quartet for the Nest for
Yeah.
sure, and as it continued to blossom, something very significant happened after graduating from high school and them graduating from high school. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, basically, we were um we were running around doing different talent shows and different things like that. And 93 was probably a really a very important year because at that point we had picked up a fifth member. His name was Jawan Adams out of Bentonville, South Carolina, and he was attending Claflin University. So at that point we became a five-man group. And so, obviously at this point our goal was to get to New York City, but how? You know,
Right.
and so I believe it's that maybe that March or something like that, we did a talent show over at Stevenson Auditorium. The winner was to go to Showtime at the Apollo, basically. And we won the talent show, but never got the call to go to Apollo.
Wow.
In the midst of all of this, we went out to DC to the music convention, the BRE music convention. When
Mm-hmm.
this time, everybody who was somebody supported, the music convention. So at this convention was everybody from Puffy to Jermaine Dupri, Heavy D and the Boys, Jodeci, who was the number one group in the industry at that time, and everybody who was somebody. We saw Immature. They were probably
Wow.
about 5 or 6 years old. And like
Right.
literally, the oldest may have been 7 years old at that time. And
Wow.
Marcus Houston and those guys.
Yeah.
We saw everybody who was somebody at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was an amazing time. And so we at that point we met Intro, a group R&B group that was doing their thing. They were new to the industry at that time. Kenny
Yeah.
Green, who was one of the probably the one of the most phenomenal R&B songwriters slash vocal arrangers. Kenny was just a genius when it came to a lot of that stuff. He had wrote a lot of the Mary J. Blige stuff. My Love, You Don't Have to Worry, Reminisce, and Love No
Mm-hmm.
Limit.
Wow.
So he really penned four out of the six first Mary J. Blige hits. So
Wow.
Green was
Wow.
just amazing, and this intro album was a classic R&B album, although it wasn't booming, in record sales.
Right. Right.
Respected in reference to the material, that was put down. It was just amazing. And so we were hanging out with these guys. We sang for James Brown, kicked it with him in the bathroom for about 20 minutes. And
Wow.
somebody who was somebody basically in the industry was there. And so this music convention changed a lot of things for us because for me, at that point, prior to that, I was planning to be a walk on, you know,
Mm,
the football team, you know,
right.
being very disappointed on not really, getting a scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
play football, in college.
Right.
I
Right.
had pretty much, I've been discouraged from kind of playing football, and somehow or another, I started kind of getting it back. But once we went to this convention, man, I tell you, I got bit by that music bug, and that football thing was a wrap.
And so y'all made it to New York. One big thing happened. You ultimately made it on to Showtime at the Apollo, and this is still '93, if
Yeah.
I'm correct,
Still
right?
Mhm.
So once y'all got on Showtime at the Apollo, and we'll definitely have it playing through this for sure, so everybody will know that Finesse was legit
Oh yeah.
on Showtime and blew it down.
Oh
Might
yeah.
I add,
Oh yeah.
doing that. What kind of transpired from that after being seen on television for the first time, seeing yourself on television for the first time? What was like the reaction of the group and the industry at large?
Well, that was a major moment in our lives, man, and just musically, in general. We were when we made it up north, we actually moved to Stamford, Connecticut. And
Hmm.
so we were commuting back and forth on the Metro North train to
Hmm.
in the subway for a change,
Right.
and
Right.
we sometimes be in New York City, um, 2, sometimes 3 days, same clothes, same everything, you know.
Right.
And while we were on the grind from that March show back in Orangeburg, we finally got the call to go to
Hmm.
Showtime with Apollo in
Right.
August. And so we went and basically did the audition at Apollo, and of course we passed with flying colors. We came back maybe a week later or something like that, and we
Hmm.
recorded the actual show, and it aired October 30th, Halloween night, 19.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was our first. That was our first time on major television. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did that encounter? How did seeing yourself on television, pretty much being motivated, being driven out of the letdown, of not fulfilling the sports side? How much motivation did that kind of spew into you to kind of say, okay, this is truly something that I can really be successful in? And just being bit by the bug is one thing, but to actually, set out to achieve a certain goal and you be able to obtain it earlier on, how did that affect you like after that?
Man, you know what's amazing, and you probably never knew this, but well, number one, the whole New York move, the Apollo thing, was a major boost for me in reference to, my confidence. You
Hmm.
know, I wouldn't say I felt like a failure in high school, but not getting a scholarship and some of the things that happened, man. I know this is probably new information to you, but dude, I didn't order cap and gown. I didn't order a yearbook. I did nothing I was supposed to do to in reference to preparing to leave OW. It's almost
Wow.
like I didn't even want to go.
Right.
Because
Wow.
I was like, man, what am I going to do? Like, to me, I thought I was going to play football. And
Hmm.
so now this is not happening. And so I'm like, man, what do I want to do? I almost went, in the military with Brad on the buddy buddy system. You know, and I was trying to. My dad, your Uncle Leon, was about to send me to Atlanta to DeVry. I was going to major in music at DeVry. A few things,
Mm,
and so I wouldn't say the end of high school I was in a depressed state, but I wasn't in the greatest space.
right,
You know?
right.
It was hard to sink to a depression um, state, when you had so many wonderful things around you, such as my family,
Yeah.
and my church and all that type of
Mm,
stuff. And so I wouldn't say I was in a depressed state, but I was extremely discouraged.
right.
And
And it's great to have that support system,
yeah,
around you,
yeah,
even when things aren't going the way that you want. You still can show that gratefulness for the things that you do have, and even in that support system, they may not, I guess, maybe like the choices that we make overall, but they still push, and they they want excellence and having that background in that support system. It may come as aggression, or you better do this type of thing, but it
mhm,
was definitely a push that we all needed. I was in that same boat, just that push that you did need to recognize your full potential in whatever it is that you decide to do. You just had to decide to do
when
something.
it comes to when it came to you know wanting to do music as opposed to what mom and daddy wanted me to do, which was go to school, get an education. That was a battle for a little minute,
Hmm.
to for my dad to come out and say, hey, I'm thinking about letting you go to DeVry down to Atlanta to major in music. That was a major step, man.
Wow.
Because prior to that, everything was no, you tripping. You know what I'm saying? That's a fairy tale.
Mm,
You know,
mm. Hey, what's up, family? It's your boy Dame checking in from the couch, and thank you for checking out part one of the unsung story of Trav Wright, Phinessed, What God Allows. We had an awesome time recording, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show as well. And we have a little special extra surprise for you guys as well. We have our very first appearance, national televised appearance of Phinessed on Showtime at the Apollo. Now, these guys were first chosen by Sean Puffy Combs on Bad Boy Records, but unfortunately they did not sign with them. However, they were able to sign with Warner Brothers Records and go on to do some awesome things and realize their overall dreams for getting on Showtime at the Apollo. So I want you guys to sit back and enjoy these good vibes, and y'all have a good day. Y'all be easy. Peace.
Coming up next, the name of Phinessed. Come on up, Phinessed. Yes, Phinessed. Touch that for me, brother. All right. We'll shout them names out for you. I can't hear you.
Curtis Boyd.
All right.
Travis Wright. Demetrius Gray. Brian Danner.
All right, what are you guys going to do for us, my man?
We're going to do a cappella. Back in the days of doo-wop.
Okay. Our cappella group, back in the days, to do what? You got your mics on? They're ready for you. Put this. And old acapella. There's a thin line
rocking a voice sweet and low, she opened up the door and let me in. Never once did she say, what have you been? She said, Phinessed, are you hungry? Are you hungry, honey? Did you read that, baby? Thank you.
All right. So much Phinessed.